Hello and welcome back to my channel, Young Black Social Worker, where I talk about all things related to social work and to the daily dilemmas for social workers series where I unpack your dilemmas. So let's get into this first dilemma. This dilemma reads, Dear Yewande, my supervisor is great at pointing out mistakes but never gives positive feedback. It's killing my confidence. Should I speak up or just keep my head down? What is it about people not sharing good news or acknowledging positive practice? It doesn't cost anything to be nice, doesn't cost anything to highlight people's achievements and accomplishments. A lack of recognition can really make you feel like you're invisible, like all your efforts are meaningless or worthless. Now, in a profession such as social work, because sometimes with the bad press that we have, we're not always expecting a pat on the back. You know, when it comes, it's good. If it doesn't, we kind of just tend to accept it as being part and parcel of our job, which is an unfortunate place to be in. But I thought what makes it exceptionally difficult is when the environment that you are in, so the working environment that you are in, also follows suit, because over time it can really kill your morale. I think some managers don't always realize how disheartening it can be. They kind of feel like, well, no news must mean good news, but there has to be more to it. I mean, you can't control how other people act and what they do, but what you can do is control how it is that you respond. So we're going to get into some very practical tips of what you can do if you're faced in this situation, because everybody is worthy of praise, especially for the hard work that we do. So one of the things that you can do with your manager is to ask for specific feedback during supervision. Okay, so what is it that you have acknowledged, or what is it that you have recognized that I have done well in my practice? That's a place for them to be open. That is also a place for you to acknowledge the fact that I need to hear positive feedback and it needs to be noted. So ask them, what are the things that I've done well? What you can also do is you can seek feedback from your peers to almost kind of balance the scale a bit. If there's a deficit on what you're getting from your manager, then tip the scale by getting peer feedback. Ask them to comment on maybe any conversations of yours that they've heard, whether it's via a telephone call, or they've seen you at a meeting or home visit that they've been with you on, or just anything that they feel is worth acknowledging. Maybe you've delivered a good bit of work during the team meeting, or you've shared a bit of resource or research that has been very helpful to that person's development. Ask for it. If you don't ask, you're not always going to get. Think about whether or not the lack of positive feedback is a deal breaker for you. So is it something that you actually really need to address? And if so, make sure that you are taking the steps to address it. Because you see, the thing is, lack of positive praise or positive feedback can oftentimes lead to imposter syndrome, especially when it is someone that you are looking up to, being your manager or being someone that is in a line of authority, because you start to question, okay, they're the person who's seeing my day-to-day practice, they're the one who is reading my assessment, or they're the one who's getting feedback about my performance from other people. And equally as well, as part of your development at that local authority, they have to go through your development anyway. When they're doing your appraisal, they have to look at the things that you have done well across the year. So if they're not acknowledging it for the rest of the year, how are they going to acknowledge it during that one-to-one when you do have to have your appraisal, especially if it's something that is conditional to you going up the increments on your pay scale? And on the subject of imposter syndrome, having a lack of positive feedback over a prolonged period of time is not healthy. Like, how do you know that you're doing well? How do you know that? Where are you getting your joy from? Where are you getting a degree of validation from? I speak all the time about sometimes us seeking validation from others and how that can be harmful. But in this particular scenario, having positive validation or affirmations from others around you just helps you to know that you are doing a good job, especially if you are struggling with a particular case, or you're struggling with your development, or struggling with your identity as a social worker. Just having those words, those kind words, those uplifting words can be such a great boost for you. So how can I communicate this without it being confrontational, or without it seeming like I am begging for compliments? One of the ways that you can do that is by naming your feeling, is by owning it and saying, I work better when I know how well I'm doing, or I work better when I receive feedback on what I'm doing, or I work better when I know that I am doing well. So you can frame it in a way that is making them know that it is going to help them to get better use out of you. It's going to help you to develop. It's going to help the outcomes that the people that you're there supporting are receiving, as opposed to, okay, maybe it's a criticism of their leadership, when we might know that actually that is the case. And for yourself, think about how you are going to also acknowledge your achievements or acknowledge your wins. You know, you can keep a small journal that has all the positive things that you have done across your social work career in there, so that when on those days when self-doubt starts to creep in, or on those days when you start to question whether or not, what am I doing here, when you forget your why, or when your why is clouded, you can always refer back to it and say, okay, these are all the really good things that I've done, this is the boost that I need, this is so uplifting for me, all those sorts of things. And one of the other things that you need to do is actually think about whether the environment that you are in is conducive to your development and to your growth. So if you are in an environment where there is just constant negative feedback or constant negativity and there is no positivity in there, is it actually serving you well? I'm a big believer of, if something is not serving you well, you have got to up and go, especially when it comes to our role as social workers. Go where you're appreciated and go where you are valued. Don't feel like you have to endure in that social work role if it's not really benefiting you in the long run. In speaking up, could it potentially result in some issues further on down the line? Possibly, but at least it will help you to know whether you have a manager who is actually willing to learn, who is actually willing to change, who is willing to accept and acknowledge how you are feeling. Because you see, the thing is, keeping your head down may help you in the short term, but in the long term, is it actually a healthy environment to be in? The answer is probably no. And if the answer is no, as I said earlier, think about whether it is conducive for you to remain there, or if you need to go where you're appreciated, go where you're valued. And so if it's not working, start to plan your exit strategy. What is it that you need to look at? Are there, is there another role that you can go to? Have you seen another team that you can see, like, from the outside, that yes, this is giving me everything that I need it to give, like it's giving what it needs to give. This is where I need to be. Go where you are valued. I cannot say that enough. Don't just wait for the crumbs. Make sure that you are taking the whole slice. And if they are giving you praise, make sure that you get your receipts, get it documented, whether it's an email, whether it is in your supervision notes. So you've got that evidence for yourself that, okay, this has been officially recognized. Keep all the receipts. Right, okay, I think that was everything that I wanted to share about that particular dilemma. I feel like it is such an important topic for social workers, especially on the topic of giving praise where praise is due. It's very, very demoralizing when you're in an environment where everything is just constant negativity, nitpicking, and you just feel like, oh, what am I actually doing this for? As always, let me know what your thoughts are about this dilemma. Leave it down below in the comment section. Please make sure that you like, that you comment, that you share, that you subscribe, that you let people know what we are doing over here. Let them know that this is the place to get the lowdown on daily dilemmas for social workers. And I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.